so now we're gonna do a couple deadlifts. So I wanna teach you the deadlift with the dowel first. Now, I did watch your deadlifts on Instagram, but you're more built to deadlift this, so that's a good thing. Now, they weren't bad, they just needed a little bit of fine tuning. So what I typically do, just to make sure that you get the bar path, I start with the dowel. This is what one of our belts feel like. A little bit more supportive.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like a whole cow in this one. So we're gonna start teaching the lifter's wedge for the deadlift with this dowel. And I'm gonna hand this to Mikayla, and she's gonna show me what her form looks like deadlifting. I've never coached her on the deadlift before. And we're just gonna break it down, and we're gonna do some breakouts depending on what she needs to do. And you pull conventional, right? Conventional stance?
I do both.
Okay.
And I might appreciate your take on whether I should do sumo or conventional.
Okay, and we've done the hip scour, so we know you have good hips for that.
Yeah.
So let's start off with your conventional deadlift, and let's kind of see your form and do your best wedge here. So you know you've already got a cheat code a little bit from the wedge, which we've been practicing. Okay, again. Good, good, again. Nice. All right, good, you got good levers to deadlift. So how does that feel? How does that form itself feel?
I feel good. I feel like I always feel like I'm leaning over way too much when I'm deadlifting.
You got too much torso action leaning forward?
Yeah, or like I can't get enough depth and keep my chest up high enough.
Mm-hmm, yep.
That's kind of how I feel.
Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to grip the bar, and I want you to actually try to bend it. So you're pulling down, and you're trying to bend it, not with your forearms or your hands, but with your lats, okay? So yes, you're doing an anti-shrug, just like we do the lifter's wedge with the squat. Now what I want you to do is pull your lats down and set them into your back pocket. Now I want you to turn your toes out just a little bit more. Good. So now I want you to slide the dowel down your legs while keeping your chest up. Keeping it up more. Good. Right there. Now drive. Good. Again. Now hold that position. Now I want you to just rock back and forth a little bit, open up your hips. Just little by little, little by little. Now drop down a little bit. Right there, now hold that. And drive your heels. Good. Now the next thing that I want to do, you're bending the dowel, you're locking in, you're anti-shrugging. Now what I want you to do is when you're lowering down, let's say you're coming up from the floor, so let's start in the bottom. So we're pulling the bar off the floor, right? I want you to pull back. So as the bar crosses your knee, you're gonna pull it so it slides up your quads, okay? Good. So now when you go to lockout, you squeeze your glutes. So you're right here, you drive your heels. As the bar crosses your knees, you squeeze your glutes. And then at the very top, you flex your quads. So it's heels, glutes, quads, okay? Toes out a little bit more, right there. Good. Now you're locked in, you're wedged, your lats are down, head is neutral, right there. Now drive your heels. Good. There it is, right there. One more. Head's nice and neutral, and good, really good. How's that feel? You feel like you're more upright? You're definitely more upright in the bottom.
More leg work for sure.
Well, yeah, so it's the deadlift, the strongest people in the world that have been measured have the most hip-generated power in the deadlift. Now, some people do pull really big deadlifts rounded over and conventional like that, but their shelf life is not very long because it's a lot of stress on the back. So if you can use more hips while you're deadlifting, that's indicative of a longer shelf life for your back. Now, I destroyed my back because I pulled big, 800 plus pounds, with a rounded back a lot of the time, and that led to my back issues. So I've pulled 800 since the back injury, but I use a lot more hips, and I'm really using these cues, the lifter's wedge, to lock it in and stiffening up a little bit. So again. Good. And how does that feel?
It feels better than the other one.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's set up again, sumo, and I'm gonna look at it from the front now. Good. Now let's start in the bottom and let's set you up in position. Okay. So I want you to pull your lats down. Good. Now here's the thing, with you that wide, do you feel like you got good strength that wide?
With my glutes, yes. With my quads, no.
Okay. So let's work on Rooting into the floor a little bit more, gripping the floor, gripping in, and then in the bottom, I want you to be pushing, spreading the floor between your feet and really loading in, and then getting that upper back, there you go, and then just driving hard and pulling back. There you go. But I want you to pull back so your body weight's gonna be a counterbalance. So once you get, I mean, the Dowel's like 2 pounds, but once you get 45 and then 135 on there, you're gonna be pulling back and using that weight as a counterbalance, okay? Good. All right, down. How's that feel?
Are these heavier 45s?
No. How does that feel?
It felt good. I felt a lot more solid than normal, but I think I am a little tired today.
You are. Well, we've done a lot, so it's okay. What I want you to do now is set up and don't pull quite yet, and I'm going to coach you up a little bit. So what we wanted to do is get tighter in the bottom and work on pulling the slack out of the bar. So get nice and tight for me in the bottom. So first of all, grip a little bit wider. Grip, yeah, about to the start of the knurling, so your hands are straight down. Okay? So now I want you to put tension on the bar, and I want you to wedge. No, not like that. Your hips down and wedge with your upper back. There. Just like that. And then when it's tight and you hear that click, you keep the tension on there. Okay? And then you drive your hips through the floor. You drive your heels and you get nice and tight.
Feels so heavy from all the way down in the hole like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's do it. Let's do a conventional pull now. Let's see. Toes out. Grip on the outside of your thighs. I want you to wedge in. Yes. Very good. Again. Okay. Get tight in the bottom and pull the slack out. Tight. There it is. Better. Rest. Conventional right now is going to be better for you because you are so loose.
Yeah.
You're so loosey-goosey with your hips that it takes you a while to get tight. So you can still work sumo in, but conventional right now, you can see you look much more comfortable just locking in there. So now what I want you to do is I want you to get tighter. I want you to get your chest up a little bit more and your lats down, and I want you to pull the slack out of the bar. And once it's tight and once it clicks, I want you to go. So you remember, you're driving your heels, squeezing your glutes, flexing your quads. Wedge in. Yeah, good. Again. Good. One more. Good. All right, relax. How does that feel?
It felt good. It's been a long time since I did lifting.
But those look good. Those look good. So just those cues that we use there are pulling your lats down, gripping the floor, and driving through. You can see you're more comfortable. Now I want you to get even tighter and pull one perfect rep, but I want to look at that knee a little bit. So do what you do. This time once you get tighter, I want you to get your chest up higher before you pull. Okay, so now bring your feet a little bit closer now. There you go, right there. Good. Now wedge in there, nice and tight. Beautiful. All right, again. Perfect rep. Good. One more, let me see your knee. Good, down. Very nice. Those look really good, man. You got a little action in your knee, but we'll work that out.
Okay.
How does the movement itself feel?
Feels good. I did feel a little better on the wider, but
It felt better the set before when you were wider?
Yeah.
Let's do it again. Let's see. Let's do one perfect rep on this one. I know I changed my mind on the last one. Nice and tight. Good. Good, down. Rest for a minute. Good. Let's do another rep. I want to see you get a little bit tighter. Remember, lats down, lock in. Beautiful. Now put it down. That's good. That looks really good. And what's the most you've ever pulled before?
I think 225.
Okay. Well, that looks good. I think conventional is going to be the way to go for you, but the secret is building the core. Obviously, you got some ankle and some knee stuff going on, but we've also done a lot of stuff. So I don't want to focus so much on the weight, but your form And you training your core and getting used to really locking in is going to help you a ton.
Yeah.
So what I want to do now, so grip isn't a limitation for you. Which one is your bad hand? The one injured. Okay, so let's do a mixed grip now. Let's put, just for the heck of it, let's put your bad hand over and your good hand under. And let's just kind of see how that goes. Same cues and everything. Let's see how that feels. Now really flex your triceps, get the arms straight, and drive. Beautiful. Again, pull attention. Good. All right, down, relax. All right, walk it off now. That looks really good. How does that feel in your hand?
It felt harder.
Yeah, it's different. And then you can also, since you talked about helicoptering, a lot of people that do the mixed grip, you will develop differently in your rhomboids and your lat and your trap a little bit. So it's never a bad idea to be able to just switch it every once in a while. And that way, if you ever tear a callus, then you can always just switch over. Like most of the time, a callus will tear in your underhand because it'll typically want to slip there. So you can always flip it over if you do tear a callus. So it's good to be able to train both ways because your arms will adapt that way. You know, I tore my bicep off in last September, and then I still went to the meet and squatted at 1,300 a month after I tore it off. And then I came back and then got the surgery for it. But my point is I didn't change my arm position enough, and then I earned that. So I got what I deserved, but pull both. So you can pull double overhand, you can do mix. So let's try the other mixed grip now. So flip their hands. Let's get nice and tight in the bottom like you're doing. It looks really good. Wedge, pull the slack out. Good. Very good. Now switch hands. Switch, go to, there you go. Now get tight. I want you to accelerate through the lift, Mikayla, all the way. Good. There you go. Get tight. There it is. Nice. Down. Now walk away. I'd almost make you want to quit there because those looked way different. Was it just because you were driving harder and you felt more comfortable? But that looked a lot more natural than the other ones.
Driving harder. Yeah.
And the same thing on the squat. Driving through. So once you know you're in the right position, don't be scared to drive through it.
Okay.
So the next thing I want to do is I want you to just try a little bit of hook grip.
Okay.
So basically you're going to lock in. You're going to lock in like this. So you're going to wrap your fingers around your thumb, lock in here, and the bar is going to stay in that position. And it's actually going to be the shortest range of motion because you can let the bar hang there. So let's make sure you have a couple different tools there you can use. Because eventually when you're pulling 315, double overhand like you're doing is going to be very hard to hold on to. Yeah.
Like that?
Now pinch your thumb real hard. Good. Now wedge in. Yes.
That's hard on my hand.
But look how fast it went up.
Yeah.
It flew up.
Yeah, that's true.
It flew up faster than the other one. So you get the benefit of the leverage of being double overhand because whenever you turn a hand under, that hand's going to have to come up a little bit higher. So you can let your arms hang like you do double overhand, but then you can let the bar lengthen your arms a little bit so your lockout's even further down here. So it does take a bit of tolerance to build up to be able to do that, but you look like a natural doing that. So what I want you to do now is do the same thing, but I want to add a little bit of weight now that you got it down. Just pull a couple so you feel the hook grip like that, but to me that's like by far the most natural you looked.
Okay.
Maybe because you were pissed off because it hurt or whatever it was, you hammered through it. Okay, so same thing. Nice and tight, locking in. Good, and down. That looks really good, man. Now I know it hurts. It's going to take you time to build up the calluses there. Yeah, but you're going to have some tougher hands if you want to pull 315, and you're going to build them up. Are you scared of that?
Oh, there's calloused.
Yeah, very nice. All right, let's add a little bit more weight now. Let's add another 10. Those look really good. So everyone's going to feel, I've never been able to master hook grip, unfortunately. I've got thick hands. They're not humongous, but I've never felt good wedging in and pulling with a hook grip beyond 600 pounds. Everything feels really good up to 600, and then it feels like my hands are going to tear off, you know? And it takes people sometimes years to master it down, but the people that learn hook grip and master it, they never go back. Like I know people multiple 900-pound deadlifters that pull hook grip and they can never hold on to a deadlift over like 850 without hook because it locks it in. Now, you pay for it in the calluses, but you also have it locked in like a vise too. And you don't have to worry about tearing the bicep off.
Yeah.
So a lot of people post-bicep surgery go to the hook grip because they don't want to do that again. Now, I do know a lot of people that are double bicep and then they finally have to go to hook grip. Okay, same thing. Get nice and tight in the bottom, one good rep. Good, and down. Relax. That looked good.
It felt a little twisting. I didn't get tight in the bottom.
You didn't, you rushed it.
Yeah.
Let's walk away a little bit. Let me show you how to chalk your hands. You ever learned how to chalk your hands before?
No.
And I'm not even being like funny about it. So to chalk your hands, what you want to do is you don't just want to put a little bit on there. You want to, when you're serious about pulling a big deadlift, you want every single part. So if you pull hook or any grip, you want the webbing of your hand chalked up there all the way across, every little bit, especially your thumbs if you're pulling hook. And you get everything nice and dry. And then when you do that, do not touch anything else. Don't like wipe your face or touch your shorts or touch any part of your body that's sweaty, because that could end up being what costs you dropping a deadlift, just because you have a little bit of sweat on your hands, or it just takes the chalk off and puts a little bit of moisture on there or whatever. So you want to hit every part in there, even between your fingers, so you have no moisture going there, and you're going to feel that grip lock in so much better. And this is a very simple thing. You know, you see sometimes people going up to lift and they're like touching people's back and everything when they're going to lift, or pushing people, and then they walk up to the bar and they got zero chalk on their hands, and that's silly. It's okay. All right, good. Now, here's something you can do. So what I like to do when I'm lifting, I'll chalk my hands just like this, and I'll break off a little piece like this. And as I'm walking up to the bar, I'll just do this and have that extra that I'll do and just kind of let it fall off my hands as I'm walking up to the bar. That way the hands are nice and coated, and then you don't touch anything. That's why you chalk your hands after you've put on your belt, after all that, and then you just go up to the bar and pull. So let's simulate that. So remember, don't touch anything else. And you're going to notice how your grip's going to be so much better now. Lock in. Good. Very good. You didn't explode with it, but you pulled good.
Hurts like a mother.
It does. It does, but
On my bad finger.
that's your first time it hurt. Where? Where's it hurt? Right there on the edge?
Yeah.
You going to be okay?
On my finger. Oh, I'll be fine.
Okay.
But it definitely, like...
And when was it, so you went to 225 last year. When was the last time you did any significant weight?
225 I probably did.
So you did it last
January.
year? Okay, you did this January? And then what have you done since then? Like how much as far as weight?
I actually backed off because I didn't like my form. And so I've only been going up to probably... I did 205 the other week, actually.
Okay. That felt pretty good?
Yeah, it
Didn't
felt
feel
pretty
good? Sumo or conventional?
Conventional.
Okay. How are you feeling right now? Do you want to stay here and work on this? You want to go a little bit higher? Those look really good. I just want to make sure you have it down, and then we can start getting into a couple more assistance exercises, and then we can kind of summarize and talk about programming and those type of things. But how do you feel right now? I know you're getting a little bit tired, but those still look really good.
I would say, honestly, the biggest thing with the hook grip is that it's calling on my bad finger to hold the bar, and I can't. So even though I don't have to pull it as far...
Over-under is probably the best. So let's do a set of over-under. Now you pick, you've pulled over-under both ways. So you tell me whichever one, if you want that one under or over, it doesn't really matter to me. So this is a good example. This is a good example of how there's such thing as an ideal way, or an ideal way, but it isn't always possible due to other injuries people have going on. So ideally, you'd have someone locking in on the squat with their shoulders down and everything nice and tight. But if someone has a few shoulder surgeries or injuries, they're not necessarily going to be able to lock down like that. Here's an example with Mikayla. She hurt her finger pretty bad last year. They had to reattach it. So even though a hook would be optimal for her to pull, it's going to end up hurting her finger, which is going to go against the whole thing we were talking about, availability supersedes ability. So I would rather you pull a little bit less and not be injured, whereas you have the ability to get better over coming weeks instead of you being shelved and beat up. So ideally, hook grip for everyone, but I've never been able to make it work. I've known other people too. It's definitely not for everybody at the end of the day, okay? So we're gonna work back with a mixed grip, and we're gonna see how this looks pulling this weight for 1 rep. Good. Good, all right, walk it off. So mixed grip, it doesn't look like it's too much different for you, but it looks comfortable like that.
It seems pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do one more. Let's add a little bit of weight and let's just do one more. I want to see, I kind of want to see your form breakdown a little bit so we can see, you know, what's what. One key mistake that people make with the deadlift is, and we already corrected it with the Dowel earlier, but one key mistake people make with the deadlift is they try to get their hips too low, right? And so what happens when someone's hips are too low? Their hips are so low down here that the bar doesn't grab until their hips are already up here, right? So then they end up stiff legging it or doing two motions like this just because they're trying to get their hips in such a low position. But everyone's hips are gonna look different in the hole down there. So it isn't necessarily about how low you get your hips, it's how much you can get your chest up and your hips locked in. Everyone's gonna look so different. Now, with Mikayla, with her long limbs, she's gonna need to get down there a little bit lower than some people, but at the same time, we don't put her down into a power squat position. We get her hips low enough for her to be able to load her lats, pick her chest up a little bit, and then she goes. So everyone's gonna look different with this, but it isn't just about how low you can get your hips, and that applies to sumo too. Everyone's gonna be a little bit different. Some people end up pulling a lot more with their back, and they have their hips higher. Some people directly squat the weight straight up, and that's gonna depend on their levers too. Everyone's gonna pull a little bit different. So there are inherent problems when people try to mimic their favorite deadlifter or their favorite athlete, because we all have different anatomy, different insertions, different configurations. So that's problematic as it is. So everyone's gonna look a little bit different, but we have these cues that we use each time, and most of the time, the majority of these cues are gonna be directly applied to everybody. They're just gonna be executed a little bit differently. So we're gonna start here. This will be the heaviest set of the day. I want you to really lock in and pull the slack out of the bar, get tight. And then when you're tight, I want you to drop your lats down, drive your heels to the floor, squeeze your glutes, flex your quads, and don't decelerate. Pull it all the way through, okay? Lock in, nice and tight. Good. Good. Down. That was 2 of 5.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't feel flexion in my back, which is awesome.
You locked in. You got really tight. That looked good. Real good. Let's just leave it. Let's leave it there. That looked really good. I was just saying that I want you to fail, but I don't know. That looked really good, and I don't want to like overwhelm you today. Okay. But that your core was locked in rigid there. That was really good. Now what you did is you got tighter before you dropped in to pull, before you just been getting into position. So this time you were here, you got tighter, right? You were tight, and then you dropped in and you were already in the position. So I think that's a good adjustment that you made there. But that by far looked like the best one, and that was the heaviest. Pretty good. So to summarize the deadlift, we decided that it's best to use the conventional stance for Mikayla. She is extremely hypermobile in her hips, and it's hard for her to create enough tension in her hips to really lock in that lifter's wedge. As you see, the conventional is beautiful. It looks nice and natural. The hook grip isn't going to be for her right now, but maybe revisit it in the future. But the mixed grip looks really good. It's her first time doing it. I emphasized to her that she needs the flipper grip just to keep from developing asymmetrically on each side. So that's something that we're going to work on over the coming weeks. But we didn't want to take her to complete failure because everything looks good right now. Sometimes you want to leave something in the take and kind of stop while you're ahead. And the cues that we use to really dial in her form with the Dowel in here, we're really rooting in the floor, gripping the floor, just like with the squat, using the lifter's wedge, pulling the pecs down, pulling the lats down, abdominal brace. As she got heavier, she braced harder and harder, And if you noticed, each time she lifted and we added weight, the weight looked better because she looked more locked in. Now, that could be because you were getting used to the form. It could be because you're getting more mentally ready. Whatever it was, it worked. So we'll revisit sumo at some point, but right now we're gonna focus on the conventional, and I think you have a good shot at getting that 315 in the coming months, but it's gonna take some time. Thank you so much for watching today. Please subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed this video, and have a wonderful day.